Yeah, so this video is sort of a rant specifically about Media Market and why I will never shop there again, unless I absolutely have to. So, just real quick, when you compare it to their biggest competitor, which is Vatan, they're basically the same. Here you got a Vatan Western Digital Elements 6 terabyte drive for $13.89. Here you've got an outlet Seagate 6 terabyte, both 3.5 inch, both external drives for $12.97. I would buy the Western Digital one anyways because I prefer Western Digital because Seagate is cheap trash, at least in my experience. I've never had a Western Digital fail. I can't say I've had one fail. It was a green drive, 3 terabyte, and they were known for failing. But apart from that, I've never had one fail. I've never had a Seagate drive last more than 3 years. In other words, I basically never had a Seagate drive last basically past its warranty. But apart from that, the bigger difference and the bigger problem is where you're buying it from. This is the last straw with Media Market. I went there to a Media Market near the IKEA here in Accra, which is like, I don't know, 20 miles away or something like that, and bought this cheap trash, which I knew was cheap trash. It's a Bluetooth keyboard, it's small though, and it fits into my backpack, and it's to replace one that I have that's kind of worse for the wear. It was 90 tele, which was a decent price. Even though that one was 50, but because of inflation, yeah, that's a fair price. I got it, brought it home, and it's broken. So, but it also has no on-off switch, which is a problem, which is weird, but it's broken. So, took it back to the Media Market near me, and basically they're told just to not accept any return ever. They're absolutely terrible about returns. They're absolutely terrible about service. And for some reason, they seem to always have 30 employees, even if they only have like 4 customers. And I have no idea why, because their employees are just less than unhelpful. They are typically terrible. And certainly, I'm sure there's a couple of them who are fine. But generally, they don't know what they're looking for. They don't know what they're talking about. They don't know where to find the thing that you need, even if they have it. And as for service after the fact, absolutely just the worst. They usually have a crappy attitude for some reason, probably because Media Market treats them terribly. I'm sure that they do. On the other hand, Vatan, for instance, there was a Vatan near me in Istanbul when I used to live there. And I bought, I don't know, something like 15 or 20,000 TL worth of products from them. But prior to buying that, I mean, they knew me well enough that they knew my name anyways, because I would go in there so often just to look at prices and stuff. And they were always super friendly, super helpful, awesome. So prices are the same. But service after the fact, and really service during the sale for Media Market, is absolutely terrible. And the whole idea that they wouldn't return my keyboard because I had bought it from a different store. Even though both stores are Media Market, they literally sell the same exact product, and the product was defective when I got it, which is absolute bullshit. Because they're not going to pay for my gas or pay for a taxi cab to go there and to get a new one, even though it was absolutely their fault. And when you go to one of these big box stores like this, part of the reason you want to go to it is because you expect that you're going to get not just convenience and price and yada yada, but you expect that that big box name is backing it up. Media Market is basically the Trump of the Donald Trump of electronic stores, here in Turkey at least, in that they know absolutely nothing, they are absolutely corrupt, their policies and practices are made only to make them money, which is fine, so long as they're also moral and ethical, which they absolutely are not. Apart from that, what you'll always find, anytime you need to return anything, and this is not my first experience, by the way. A friend of mine bought a blender there. Admittedly, it was like a shelf model, a display model. Went to bring it back like a day later, and they said that she had broken it when they had broken it. It was broken when she bought it, which she didn't realize because she didn't test it or anything. I was there when she bought it and when she tried to return it, and it was like an ongoing issue. They said they were going to have someone come and fix it. That never happened. They don't seem to know at all what's going on in those stores. And again, Vatan, at least generally, when you walk in, if you get to one of the folks, especially the folks behind the counter, and I'm talking mostly computer parts, who knows, they're probably both fine for buying vacuum cleaners, I wouldn't know, but for computer parts anyways, you know, if you walk up to someone in Vatan and say, I need an IDE cable, they're going to say we don't have them because they're super old, but they'll know what you're talking about. If you say, I need an M.2 drive, they're going to know what you're talking about. If you go to Media Market and even ask them what kind of drive is in this laptop that you're selling, they're going to be like, oh, it's an Intel, it's an Intel, so you should buy it. Like, that's their level of expertise at Media Market, I've noticed. So absolutely just the worst service I've ever had anywhere. I will never shop there again unless I absolutely have to, and truly, you should not either. Because when it comes to Media Market and Vatan, even when you're looking at this product here, I mean, you can see that, yeah, this Western Digital one, which again, in my opinion, better brand, but we're pretty much comparing apples to apples. These are the two main hard drive competitors that you see out in the consumer world. Even though that one's $13.90 compared to $12.97, even though it's 90 TL more, buy it because it's from Vatan. It's absolutely worth it. I've never had any issue returning anything. I've returned products that were perfectly fine. I've returned defective products to Vatan. Never had a question, never had an issue. Didn't matter what store it was at. It's possible policies changed there, but I've never had a struggle with Vatan. There are more Media Markets though, at least as far as I can tell, and so Media Market has them beat in terms of convenience. But in terms of everything after the fact and expertise during the fact, Media Market is absolutely terrible. And the attitude and everything is just like the icing on the cake. So really, I would strongly advise, don't shop there. They will treat you terribly. They will do absolutely nothing to help you. And their prices don't make it worth it. So yeah, I'm absolutely just totally done and fed up with that place after so many times I've gone there and gotten the runaround over and over and over again and just never had an experience like that at Vatan. Annoyingly, they both will bug you, their sales associates or whatever will bug you when they walk in the store. That's just a loss prevention tactic. They're not trying to be nice and they don't care to help you at either store, but they think if they say hi to you and hi, can I help you, what do you need? They think then if you were going to steal something before that you won't now. It's BS. But again, in Vatan, they at least still seem to have some folks who know what they're talking about. Whereas with Media Market, I mean, it's almost like they got all of their employees directly from Migros, which is fine for Migros, but not good for an electronics store. They're just absolutely horrible all the way around. And they'll give you the line that, well, we can't do anything about it, we're just associates. But then there's no manager or there's no other person around, there's no one there who actually makes decisions who will ever come and speak to you or do anything about it, because they just don't give a shit. And, again, the employees themselves probably aren't paid enough to give a shit, so I can understand that. But it's just bad practice all around. Terrible, terrible in terms of being a store that services consumers directly. I mean, Best Buy was pretty bad in the US. I wouldn't generally recommend going there, but arguably they were still better than Media Market. Media Market really has gotten, and they were great 4, 5, 6 years ago when I first came here, when I first moved here, Media Market was pretty decent. But it seems like, especially over the last, 2 or 3 years, shopping at Media Market is as frustrating as having to call your cable provider or having to call like Turkcell or Super Online or Comcast if you're in the US. Like, that's how annoying and terrible it is, because basically, if you're buying batteries, check the date, and sure, I guess that's fine because they're cheap enough you can throw them out even if they're bad, but they're probably not bad. Anything else, don't consider buying it from Media Market. They absolutely are the worst place that I've dealt with in this country, other than literally Vodafone, other than a cell phone carrier. Whereas, again, Vatan, on the other hand, has always been awesome. Just in basically every way. I had one situation where they didn't have SATA cables, which was like, are you kidding me? But they were also super busy that day, and there were a lot of people in the store, and I think I kind of got one of those folks who didn't really know what they were talking about, so I was like, all right, so be it, I'm leaving. But generally, they know their shit pretty well, and they deal with the customers pretty well, and the same can absolutely not be said about Media Market anymore. My guess is they probably have some MBAs running the place now who think that they know everything. That usually happens a lot, and they implement these policies like, oh, if you bought it from one store, you can't return it to another, for no reason whatsoever. It's the same exact store. Their profit and loss is exactly the same. When it gets to a corporate level, they don't give a shit what store lost what or what store made what. It's not an issue with logistics or transportation. It's literally meant to deter you from returning things, and that type of underhanded crap is what Vatan doesn't do. So, anyways, good luck. Don't shop at this shit show.